Weißt, das ist ein Portfilin, was die Parshas seien geschrieben von Reb Moshe Seifer allein, hat der Tate gesagt froh. Do you know, this is a pair of tefillin, and the sections that are written there were written by Rabbi Moshe Sofer, the Chasam Sofer himself. Father said piously, Reb Moshe Sofer is given a tzaddik, and fleck gehen in mikveh jedes Mal hat geschrieben dem Shem in a Sefer Torah. Reb Moshe Sofer, he was a righteous man. He used to go to the mikveh anytime he was about to write the name of God in a Sefer Torah, in a mezuzah, or in a parshas, or in a mezuzah, or in a collection of parshas for the tefillin. As es a schia, some Reb Moshe Seifer as a tefillin. It's a great honor to have, or it gives you great merit to have tefillin written by Reb Moshe Seifer. Ich habe betracht die große, alte, schwere Tefillin mit die breite, verfetzte Rezuas und ich bin gar nicht begeistert gewesen von der größeren Matane. I inspected these large, old, heavy tefillin with the broad and fat-smeared verfetzte straps. And I was not particularly enthusiastic because of this enormous gift. Ich hab der Wart bessere Matanes von Weg. I was expecting better gifts from the way, from the path. I'm not sure, is he on a journey? Trotzdem hab ich gewollt haben schöne, kleine, leichte Tefillinlach. Nicht ein paar alte, große und breitere, zu dicke, verfetzte Tefillin. Besides that, I wanted to have the small, light, little tefillin, not a pair of the old, big, broad, broad-strapped and verfetzte and smeared tefillin. I've seen tefillin of all sorts of sizes. I guess having great big ones was a custom for a while. Das, was Reb Moshe Seifer is gegangen in mikveh, als viel mal beim Schreiben die Parshas, hat mich ganz wenig interessiert. The fact that Reb Moshe Seifer used to go to the mikveh so often as he was writing these Parshas, that interested me very, very little. Besser davon ist schon gewesen das silberne Tintal, was mein Vater hat mir gegeben. Better than that was the silver inkwell, which my father had given me. Das hat gekriegt von der Baba Temmele. This he had received from Grandma Temmel. A Tintal, was hat sich zusammengeschreift und gehat a Deckele versamt, mit welchen zu verschitten frisch geschrieben Papier. This inkwell had it had a screw top, zusammengeschrift, and it also had a cover to hold sand, with which one would blot newly written paper. Das ist gewesen ein klein geschnitzt Tinterell mit a Probe von 84 Silber. This was a small carved inkwell with a note on it that it was 84% silver, a proof of 84% silver. Die Mama hat sich auf kein Matane nicht gefragt. Mother did not ask for any gift. Aber meine Schwester hat gewollt wissen, was der Tata hat ihr gebracht. Oh yes, father has just come back from his long time across the border, and he's bringing back gifts, right? So my sister wanted to know what father had brought. Der Tata hat sie angeguckt mit Chidish. Father looked at her with wonder. Was kann man bringen a Mädel a Matana? What sort of a gift can you bring to a girl? Hat gefragt, he asked. Der Pfarr hat gebracht Jammelkes und Sitze Canvaslach für meine Brüderlich, für seine noch gewinnt kleine Kinder. But he did bring Yamalkas and Arbacanfas, undergarments with fringes, for my little brothers who were still quite small children. In Stub, you can imagine now why Esther, the sister, was not very happy with her family life. In Stub hat sich angehäuben an Esek, was sie tan mit die etliche 100 Rubel. In the house began a back and forth, literally a business, what to do with these several hundred Rubel. A Weile hat man getracht, als die Mama soll öffnen a Gewölbel und zuhelfen zu der Parnasse. A while, people were thinking that mother ought to open a little store and help out with income. Wie meistens Noshim Tzidkanias Tuanis, as most of the pious women would do. Aber erstens ist die Mama gewesen eine rabbonische Tochter, was hat keinmal kein Mischer nicht geführt und nicht getäugt zu solche Sachen. But first of all, mother was the daughter of a rabbi. She had never dealt with merchandise, and she was not very good at it, good for such things. Zweitens ist in Stettel gewesen über genug gewölblich, schon zu viel. Second of all, in the town, there were more than enough little stores, already too many. Also es ist schon nicht gewesen, kein Baderfenisch in noch eins. So many that there was no need for yet another. Drittens, wollten die Krämer in Städtel gehad verriebel, was der Rav macht der Mischer und nimmt zu sehr breit. And third of all, the other storekeepers in the town would have they would be annoyed that the rabbi is doing business and taking away their bread. So ideale Sachen ist geblieben, als man soll das Geld halten, wenn soll seine Naden für meine Schwester. Was wachst unter? Because of all these things, it was decided that they should keep the money. It should become a dowry for my sister, who is growing up. Was wächst unter und in Gichen wird man kennen an Heben reden ihr Shidduchim, who's growing up and soon will be able to begin speaking about matches, marriage matches. Das Geld hat man gehalten versteckt besad. The money they set aside in a secret place. Also hat man euch gehalten besad die Geschichte wegen dem Geld. And the same way, they kept secret the history of the money. Es ist gesintere gewesen, als keiner soll nicht wissen davon. It was more healthful. It was a better idea that no one should know about it. Aber Juden in Städtel haben sich schon derwusst wegen dem. But the Jews in the town, they already knew about it. Zwischen Juden ist kein Seides nicht da. Among the Jews, there were no secrets. Wenn einer Jid mit dem Namen Chaim Yosef, der Mann von Chana Rochlen, was vielleicht Kalje machen, dem Sholem Bayis zwischen Porvölker, hat der Chaim Yosef. So, but one fellow with the name of Chaim Yosef, he was the husband of, you remember, Chana Rochel. She's the one who used to cause disputes between man and wife. She would disturb the shalom bayis, the household peace between man and wife, poor Falca.
She would send food that was better than what the wife could prepare.
Right. At der Chaim Yosef, this particular Chaim Yosef, a Yid, was hat gehad allerlei parnassus, a fellow who had all sorts of sources of income. Hat gehad a fabrikel von Kwas, a lederkram, is given a Kamaschenmacher. He was, firstly, he had a little factory making kvass, a slightly alcoholic bread-based drink. And he had a leather store. And he also made the tops for shoes, the Kamaschen. A chassid dazu, and he was also a chassid. Hat genommen dem Taten in die Hände rein und lang mit dem eingeteinet, bis hat gepeult bei ihm. He took father into his hands and he argued with him so long that he finally hat gepeult bei ihm. He
persuaded him.
Say that again?
He persuaded him.
That's it. He persuaded him. Soll herausnehmen die paar hundert Rubel und reingehen mit ihm in Schutfes, in sein Lederkram. That he should take out this several hundred ruble and go with him in partnership in his leather shop. Chaim Yosef's plan hat stark Neisachen gewinnt by mein Vater. Chaim Yosef's plan was very agreeable to my father. Warum beemes, was für ein Tachlis ist das, zu halten Geld bei sich? Because after all, what sort of a purpose is it just to hold the money at your own place? Es bringt gar nicht rein, Ganovim kennen sich Cholile der Wissen und reinchappen sich bei Nacht in Haus. Firstly, it doesn't bring in any income. And thieves could, God forbid, get wind of it, and they can steal at night into the house. The Rasreife can Chalila ausbrechen, or, God forbid, a fire can break out. Verschiedens can treffen. All sorts of things could happen. Is nicht besser, als der Tate soll machen Schutfes, a Lederkram mit ihm, Chaim Yosefen? Wouldn't it be better that father should go into partnership in a leather shop with him, with Chaim Yosef? Die Kram existiert schon, eigentlich, und sie wollt gekannt machen goldene Geschäften. The store already exists, after all, and it would be able to have a golden income, golden Geschäften, golden business. No what? But what? You have your uncle say something?
No, I didn't.
Okay. No was denn? Or wo denn? Chaim Wolf hat kein Geld nicht da rein zu legen in Käufe neue Schreure. But what is it? Well, Chaim Yosef, he didn't himself have any money to put into the business to purchase new merchandise. Is verdreht mit Geld in Quasfabrikel. He was occupied, all his money was occupied in his Kvass factory. Wenn wollt, wenn soll kennen, reinlegen etliche 100 Rubel in der Lederkram, wollt sie gebracht Parnasse berevach. If he would be able to put several hundred ruble into his leather shop, it would bring money in great quantities, berevach. Efsher 10 rubel a woche, maybe even 10 rubles every week. The Riber soll der Tate werden a Shutef, and therefore father should become a partner. Arbeiten in der Kram wird nicht dürfen. Weil Chaim Yosef, wird schon als führen wie früher. To work in the shop, my father wouldn't have to, because Chaim Yosef, would already carry on as before. Aber zu lieb dem reingelegten Geld, wird der Tate sein a gleicher Schutef zum Revach. But because of the money he would put in, father would be an equal partner for the income. Wird sich kennen sitzen ruhig und lernen teure, und von der Seite wird ihm reinfallen Revach jede Woche. He could sit and peacefully study Torah, and on the side, there would come into his hands this increase, this revach, every week. Amol a finferel, amol a filamer, wie Gott wird geben. Once would be 5 ruble, maybe even more, whatever God would send. Good. Susan, your turn.
Nu frage ich euch, so I ask you, Rebbe, ist es nicht keine Wehre zu halten Geld in Streusack? Is it not a sin to keep the money in a sack, a straw sack, wenn es kann aufrichten zwei Jiden mit Weiber und Kinder, when it can contribute to 2 Jews who have wives and children. Hat gefragt Chaim Yosef, glättendig dabei sein Gelberdo. So Chaim Yosef asked, and as he stroked his blonde beard. Und mit dem Geld sind ihr damit betuch. And with the money, you're always sure, wie bei sich in Keshene, as if it was in your own pocket. Avada, Reb Chaim Yosef. Sure, Reb Chaim Yosef. Hat zugeschockelt mein Tate. My father shook his head in agreement. Der ständiger Optimist und Gläuber. He was always optimistic and a believer. Es ist sehr gleiche Sache. It's very equal thing, easy thing.
Straight thing, yes.
Reasonable.
Reasonable, yeah.
Mein Mama hat gehabt ihre Zweifels. My mother had her doubts. Und dem Taten geraten nicht zu, eilen sich mit derselben Sachen. And she tried to convince my father not to rush into such things. Chaim Yosef is nicht upgetrotten. But Chaim Yankov didn't, he kept up. He didn't move out of this topic. Hat gerät, süße red. He talked sweet talk. Eingeteinet, zugesucht, glicken. He kind of eingeteinet. How would you translate that?
Persuaded.
Persuaded. He told all the good things. Goldene Berg, golden mountains, a so lang, a so breit, bis hat mein Vater übergerät. So long and so wide, until he had talked my father into it. Der Tate hat ungeschrieben etliche Beugens mit Papieren. Father wrote on a few rolls of paper.
Pieces of paper.
Pieces of paper, Beugen. In welche es ist gewesen, ungeschrieben alle Haschewesen zwischen die Schutfim, and in which the paper in which was written all the Haschewesen is, I didn't know what that was.
Obligations.
Yeah.
What you were owed, sort of.
Well, obligations.
Obligations between the two partners. Of Welt mit beworfenischen seinen in die Papieren gewesen ungeschrieben. All kinds of things a world was written in these papers.
Beworfenischen, warnings. It's conditions.
Conditions. Chaim Yosef hat die alle Punkten a viel nicht gewollt überlehnen. Chaim Yosef didn't even want to read all the details, didn't read them over. Rav, kennt reinschreiben alles, was will nur. Rabbi, you can write anything you want. Nur hat gesucht und untergeschrieben die Papieren mit a gezickter Handschrift. And he said, and he signed the papers with a gezickter, with a handwriting,
Fancy.
a fancy handwriting. Der Tate hat untergeschrieben von sein Seite, and father also signed it from his side, und hat herausgegeben dem Jiden das Geld, and he gave his money to this Jew. Die schöne Banknoten mit die Adlers und kaiserliche Porträten, the very nice looking banknotes with eagles and the portraits of the Kaiser, of the, well, not the Kaiser. Oh, yes, it's Russian. It would be the Kaiser. Yes?
Well, the Tsar. This is
The
Poland.
Tsar, okay, Tsar.
Part of the Russian Empire at that point.
Die Schutfim haben sich gegeben the hand. The partners shook each other's hand, gewünschen sich Mazel Tov. They wished each other good luck. Die erste Woche nach dem Upmach, Freitag in der Früh, the first week after they made this agreement, Friday, in the early Friday, is reingekommen Chaim Yosef's Techterel. Along came Chaim's little daughter came in und gebracht a Papieren Dreierl mit a bissel Cooper Geld. And
Dreierl. It's a three note.
a Papieren Dreierl. She brought a three
3 ruble note.
3 ruble coin
No.
It's a papier, so it's paper. It's a note.
folded in a paper.
No, it's not a coin at all. It's a paper 3 ruble note.
Oh, a Papieren Dreierl mit a bissel Coopergeld. And she also brought some change, the Coopergeld. Would that be?
Yeah, it's copper as opposed to a paper. Yes.
Die Mama hat es zugenommen ungeschmeichelt. Mother took it and she smiled. Dus is gewein a gewaltiger Zusteuer zu der Parnossa. This was a wonderful addition to their livelihood. Die zweite Woche zu der Minute, the second week, on the exact minute, is das Mädele gekommen mit etliche Kerbelach, Revach, and the second week, and to the minute, the girl came with a few coins.
Now, kerblech is again rubles.
Rubles.
And revach is profit.
Profit on Schutvis and partnership. Auf der dritte Woche is das Mädel nicht gekommen mehr. And by the third week, the young girl didn't come anymore. Der Tate hat gewahrt etliche Tage zu lieb Edelkeit. Father waited a few days just out of niceness. Wenn das Mädel is als nicht gekommen, hat der Tate mich geschickt zu Chaim Yosefin. So when the girl didn't wind up coming, he sent me to go to Chaim Yosef. Chaim Yosef hat zuerst nicht geredet mit mir. At first, Chaim Yosef didn't even talk to me. Hat geredet mit a hinkendicke goyische Schuster. He was busy talking to a limping goyische shoemaker. Was hat gekauft bei ihm leather, who bought leather from him. Wenn is fertig geworden mit hinkendicken Schuster, when he finished with the limping shoemaker, hat genommen zuschneiden leather. And then he began to cut up leather. Tun allerlei andere Arbeiten, and then do all kinds of other work. Ich hab ihm gemuntert. And I
encouraged him.
What would you say?
encouraged him.
Encouraged, I try to get him to talk, I guess. Reb Chaim Yosef, der Tate hat mich geschickt zu euch. Reb Chaim Yosef, my father sent me to you. Chaim Yosef hat sich gemacht nicht hörendig. Chaim Yosef made as though he didn't hear. Und getun allerlei ausgesuchte Arbeiten. And he looked around for all kinds of work to do. Wenn ich hab schon verloren das Geduld, when I finally lost my patience, und gesucht ihm, and I said to him, soll mir empfehlen, that he should answer me, hat Chaim Yosef mich umgeguckt, wie wollt mich nicht gekannt. So Chaim then looked at me like he didn't even know me. Und gesucht mit halber Red. And he said, was is a halber Red?
Angrily, I think.
What?
Half words, literally, but how it's used, I'm not sure.
As
Maybe-
though not addressing him directly.
Yeah, or with partial sentences, perhaps.
Oh, du bist es. Oh, it's you. Zog der Taten, als ich bin gewesen vernommen. Tell your father I was busy. Stark vernommen, very busy. Und als ich will schon schicken for 2 Wochen, and I will send you 2 weeks of payment. Billy Neder, I swear.
Well, Berliner is just the opposite. Berliner is I'm intentionally not making an oath, but if I
I'm not.
can, I will.
A neder is an oath without an oath.
That's right.
I'm not swearing, but I will send it.
Exactly.
In dem bli neder hab ich der field, and then that's where he said about without the oath, I felt as wird nicht schicken. I realized that he would not send it. Mein Mama is gleich geworden umruhig. My mother immediately became uneasy when ich hab dem Schutfisses empfer with the partner's answer, I gebracht, when I brought the partner's answer. Der Tate is gewesen optimistisch wie allemal, and father was always optimistic. Was dir fehlt hat gehabt Teines zu der Mammen. What are you worrying about? He complained to mother. A Yid hat gegeben ma Hand. Another Jew gave me his hand, made me a promise. Papieren untergeschrieben. He wrote out papers.
He signed papers.
He signed papers.
Yeah, and was dir fällt ein? Einfallen is to, in this case, imagine. What are you imagining?
Oh. Chaim Yosef hat nicht geschickt sein Mädel mehr. Chaim Yosef didn't send his daughter after that. Nicht dem kommende Freitag, not the coming Friday, nicht kein ander Freitag danach, and not any Friday after that. Der Tate hat zu ihm gehabt Teines. The father went complaining to him, gerät wegen Yosher. He spoke to him about righteousness, Yiddishkeit, well, being a good Jew. Chasimus auf Papieren and signatures written on paper. Der Yid hat geguckt auf ihm, wie man guckt auf a Chassadei. The Jew looked at him like somebody who has lost his mind. Und gerieben die Hand in Geduld, and he wrung his hands impatiently. Ich hab nicht, Rav, das Geschäft bringt gar nicht rein. I don't have anything, Rabbi. The business doesn't bring anything in. Gib mir zurück das Geld, hat der Tate geteinet. So give me back my money, father complained. Was Geld? Hat Chaim Yosef übergefragt. What are you talking about? Chaim Yosef asked. wie wollt gar nicht gewusst wegen dieser Sache, so he knew nothing about that. Das Geld ist nicht da. The money is not here. Ich habe es reingelegt in Scores. I used it for merchandise. Ich habe upgezahlt Käufes. I paid up debts. The leatherhändler in Warsaw to the leather worker, the leather business in Warsaw. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Kein Teines und meines haben nicht geholfen. No arguing and how would you translate minus?
Sharp words.
Yeah, it's hard because it's a rhymed expression.
Right.
So meine Loschen can mean cursing. But I don't think his father would be cursing. So no complaints and complaints. I don't know. Minus and minus.
So nothing, it didn't help. All his talking didn't help. In Stub is gewinn choshech. Things were dark in the home. Der Tate hat sich euch geschämt für die Mammen, der Mammen. Father was also embarrassed in front of my mother. Sie hat ihm gewarnt, nicht zu glauben. She had, after all, warned him not to believe everything that this man had told him. In Stettel hat man euch gelacht von Taten für sein Batlones. And in the village, in the town, everybody laughed at him because of his Batlones, his ineptitude, für sein Losen sich abnarren, because he had allowed himself to be swindled. Die Lage ist geworden bitter, ärger mit jedem Tag. The situation became bitter, more difficult every day. Einmal ist geworden in Stuba sehr schlecht, als his mamisch nicht gewinn für was zu kaufen abreut. And once things were so bad in the house that there wasn't enough money to buy even a loaf of bread. Wir seien schon schuldig gewesen die Bäckers von früher. We already owed the bakers money from before. Die Mama hat demult a rausgenommen von a Behältnis a Stickel Zierung. So my mother took out from a hiding place a piece of jewelry. Das einzige Stickel Zierung, was is ihr noch gehat verblieben von der Chassana. The only bit of jewelry that remained from her wedding. Und geschickt dem Taten kem Warsche, soll es versetzen in a Lombard. And she sent my father to Warsaw to pawn the jewelry in a pawn shop. Das ist gewinn a Kopfspielke mit a Brillantel. This was a hairpin.
A hairpin.
A hairpin with a small diamond. Was man hat es gerufen Zitterspielke. Something that they called a
brooch pin.
A brooch pin?
Yeah, a zitternodel is another name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a brooch pin.
Right, I found a snake pin. Or shake pin.
Yeah, sitter can mean to shake.
Yeah.
But apparently together sitter nodal means the brooch pin. So very likely same thing with a sitter. What was this one?
Spielke.
Yeah.
Sitter Spielke.
Yeah.
Okay. Weil zu lieb dem was das goldene Fissel is gewinn gekarpt, gekreiselt via a Peia, hat es gehat a teva zu zitteren keseder. So because it had a golden little leg which was notched and curled like a sidelock, it used to shake continuously. Der Tatter hat eingebunden die Spülke in a Spitz von a Reuter Keschener Pachela. My father bound this pin in the corner of a red handkerchief und ist weggewaschen, and he left for Warsaw. Mit 2 Tagen später ist zurückgekommen und gesagt der Mammen. So 2 days later he returned and he said to my mother, as hat gekrogen in Lombard 50 Rubel für der Spielke. That he told my mother that he had received from the pawn shop 50 ruble for this pin. Hat reingesteckt die Hand in Keschener, rauszunehmen die 50 Rubel, aber das Geld ist in der Keschener nicht gewesen. He stuck his hand in his pocket to take out the 50 ruble, but the money was not in his pocket. Der Tate is blass geworden. My father paled. Man hat gesucht alle Keschnes, aber man hat kein Groschen nicht gefunden. They looked through all his pockets, but they didn't find a single cent. Weis mir, Ganovim in Bann haben es bei mir gemusst rausnehmen, hat gebittert. Was tut man? Oy vey, he said. Thieves must have taken the money out of my pocket. He struggled to say, what can one do? Geh Wasser zum Essen, hat die Mama gesagt und geguckt mit großer, durchdringlichen Augen auf den Tappen. Go and wash your hands and have something to eat, my mother said to him, looking at him with her large, piercing eyes. Was ist gewesen? Ein Stück Verzweiflung. Her eyes, which were just, she looked at him in disbelief. Wer hat sich gekannt richten? Who could have imagined? Hat mein Vater gehalten in ein Murmeln. Who could have imagined? My father mumbled again and again. Bin gesessen im Bahn zwischen Eden mit Bert. I was sitting in the train among Jews with long beards. Mit Bert, Zion Bert, geh essen, hat die Mama gesagt. So whether they had beards or they didn't, sit down and eat, my mother said. Das Essen wird kalt. The food's getting cold. Der Tate is nicht gegangen essen. My father didn't sit down to eat. Anstatt dem hat rausgenommen a Sefer und reingeguckt darin. Instead of sitting down to eat, he took out a book, a religious book, and started reading in it. Rabbeinu Shalom, Mistome weiter besser.
Mistome weißt du besser.
Mistome weißt du besser. Perhaps you know better, Rabbeinu Shalom. Hat geteinet, guckendig in Sefer rein, looking, he said this, looking into the book. Okay. Lenschen wird eng für uns.
Zu eng.
Zu eng für uns. Lenschen became too restricted for us. Mit jedem Tag ist geworden das Städtel enger und enger für uns. With each day, the town became more and more restricted for us. Es ist gekommen dazu, als a viele mein Vater, der größte Optimist, hat schon nicht gekonnt leben mit seinen Betochen. And it came to the fact that my father, the great optimist, could no longer live with the same confidence. Und hat beschlossen, wegzulegen seine große Arbeit in verteidigen Raschien und lassen sich suchen einander Rabbones. And he decided to set aside his great work in defending Rashi and to begin to look for a new rabbinical post. Tchilas hat der Tate probiert zu reden der Mammen, sie soll wegfahren mit den Kindern auf eine Zeit zu ihrer Eltern kein Bilgerei. So initially, he tried to persuade my mother to take the children and go for a time to her parents in Bilgerei. Und als Gott wird ihm helfen und wird sich aussuchen das richtige Rabbones, wird kommen nach uns und uns bringen bekovet Godel zu dem neuen Ort. So he said that the mother should take the children to Bilgerei, and when he, with God's help, would find the correct rabbinic post, he would come after us and bring us with great honor to the new place. Aber meine Mutter hat nicht gewollt hören davon. But my mother didn't want to hear about this. Sie hat nicht gewollt in ihre Jahren unwarfen sich allein mit 4 Kinderlich ihr Vater auf den Hals. She didn't want at her stage of life, at her age, to impose herself with 4 children on her father, literally around her father's neck. Der Tate hat darüber gelost uns in Städtel und gelost sich fahren kein Radzimin. So my father left us in the town and went on his way to Radzimin mit der Hoffnung, als der Radziminer Rebbe, sein Freund, wird ihm helfen, der Greichen a bessere Rabbonis. So he went to the Radzimin Rebbe with the hope that the Radzimin Rebbe, his friend, would help him to get a better rabbinic post. Gefahren ist auf eine kurze Zeit, aber wie es ist schon gewesen sein Steiger, hat angetroffen auf die Wegen ohne schier Freund und Noente, was haben sich mit ihm gefreut und ihm nicht gelost, also wegfahren. So he should have gone for a short time, but as was his habit, he ran into many friends on the way, many friends and acquaintances, and they were so happy to see him that they wouldn't allow him to leave. Zu lieb sein Freundschaft und Naivität in Glauben in Menschen haben Menschen gewaltig lieb gekrogen, mein Vater. So because of his friendliness and his naivete in believing in people, people loved him very greatly, my father. Geworden zu ihm zugebunden, and they became very close to him. Mamisch nicht abgelost von sich, and they didn't leave him alone. Zugesagt ihm allerlei Glicken und Fantasies, and they promised him all sorts of good things and fantasies. Der Tata hat gewollt glauben in Nissim und stark begeistert geworden von jedem Zwog und Haftoch. Zusag. In jedem Zusag und Haftocha. My father believed and wanted to believe in miracles, and was very much inspired by each promise and Zusag and Haftochas. These are two words that mean the same. If each of these promises which were given to him. Jeder etliche Tag seinen angekommen nahe loschen koidische Brivelach. Every few days, new loschen koidish Hebrew letters arrived from him, geschrieben mit perldicke rabbonische Oisieslach und in halbrundige Shures. So these letters were written in beautiful rabbinic letters, halbrundige Shures, in lines that weren't straight. They were sort of bent lines, full mit Glicken wegen allerlei Rabbonissen und allerlei Städtler. And they were filled with all sorts of wonderful things about all sorts of rabbinic positions in various towns. In ein Städtel haben ihm die Radziminer Chassidim zugesagt, as sie wollen im Yirtzeh Hashem sein. In one town, the Radzimina Hasidim promised him that they would, God willing, they would see him there. In a zweit Städtel hat Azad und Hagam der andere Zad will an ander Rov, hofft aber, als sein Zad wird menatzer sein und es wird sein gut und wohl. So he in another town, he had someone who was vouching for him.
Well, here at Saud, I think, is a party of supporters.
Yeah, people who
Not
were
an individual, but a group.
okay. So people who were vouching for supporting him, and even though there were people supporting somebody else, another rabbi, he hoped, nevertheless, that he would be successful, and that everything would go well for him. Und in ein Städtel hat schon a viele gehalten a drosha, and in one town he even delivered a drosha, a sermon, was hat geläubt, der Eberste stark ausgenommen sei bei die Leundim, sei bei die Prosteiden. And this sermon was praised by geläubt der Eberste, praise be to God, it was very well received both by the learned people and also by the simple Jews. Man hat ihm euch dort groß Covid angetan und gemacht Sudes für ihm, Kiyad HaMelech. So they also there they made they gave him great respect, and they made set up meals for him. Kiyad HaMelech, very open-handedly, very richly appointed. Aber kein Ksav Rabbonos hat man ihm derweil nicht gegeben. But in the meantime, they didn't give him a signed rabbinic contract, weil es seien da allerlei Manias, because there were all sorts of obstacles. Aber mit dem Ebersters Hilf wird sich a Wada als endigen Bechitov und mit Hatzlocha. But with the Ebersters help, everything would end in the best way and with success. Okay.
And I'll pick up at this point. Alle brieflich pflegen sich endigen damit, als kann nach derweil nicht daheim kommen, weil grad jetzt hat sich gemacht ein neuer Bonus, was darf sein als eins und als solches. Every letter used to end with the fact that he couldn't yet come home because just at this point, a new rabbinic post is opening up, which ought to be something else. Als eins und als solches. Aber wie nur es wird kriegen das richtige Ksav Rabbonos, but as soon as he gets the proper writ of appointment, wird heimkommen und alles wird sein mit God's help recht. Then he'll come home and everything will be, God willing, with God's help, fine. Und er sei weiter und weiter. And that's how it went on. Die Mama hat mit große, greue, unmittige Augen gelehnt die hoffärtige Brieflich von Taten und geschaukelt mit dem Kopf full mit skepticism. Mother, with her big, gray, unhappy eyes, read these hopeful letters from father, and she shook her head, full of skepticism. Was schreibt der Tate? Was schreibt der Tate, habe ich gefragt. What's Daddy writing? I would ask. Geh lernen a blatt Gemara, hat die Mama gesagt. Oh, go better, study a page of Gemara, Mother would say. Nicht willend ich patern a Wort auf die Brillach, not even wanting to waste a single word about these letters. Ich hab nicht gewollt lernen kein Blatt Gemara. I didn't want to study a page of Gemara. Ich bin gewinn ruhig und heftig und gefallen bei sich und kieder widerdig, greit sich zu werfen auf jeden, was wird mir sagen ein Wort Musa für mein Unleitigkeit. I was unquiet and wild, and I was depressed. Gefallen bei sich. I felt somewhat worthless. And kider widerdig, and I was obstinate. And I was ready to throw myself at anyone who would give me any word of scolding for my poor behavior. In a Sitzensummer Chalatl, in welchen ich hab gehad gemacht a Gewaltriss. Und mein Mama hat vernäht mit der Latte in Gestalt von a Daled. So wearing a chintz, I think that's what sitz is. It's a thin material, a summer coat, in which I had actually made a tear. I had torn it badly, and my mother had sewed it up with a patch in the form of a daled, mit a por flaxene payas. I had a pair of blonde payas, sidelocks, was ich hab sie jeden Tag zugeschoren begneve als kürzer und kürzer, which every day I shortened secretly. Bin ich herumgelaufen meilenweit, getragen von jugendlicher Unruhigkeit verreif werden. I ran around miles about. Getragen von jugendlicher Unruhigkeit. I carried from my youthful unquiet verreif werden. How are you going to translate that? Reif means ripe or mature. So I considered my running about as if I were mature. Any suggestions there?
I had trouble understanding that one as well.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that I've got it close anyway. So reif is ripe, but here I think it means mature. Okay. Ich pfleg reinfallen von übergetriebener Simche zu übergetriebener Traurigkeit. I would fall from übergetrieben is exaggerated, from exaggerated joy into exaggerated sorrow. It sounds like bipolar. Und ich hab abgetan allerlei narrische Sachen, and I did all sorts of foolish things. Einmal habe ich sich zugescharrt, Stillerheit, zu der Mikve und begneve reingeguckt durch ein Spalt in Tier. Once I crept up silently to the mikveh and begneva in stealth. I looked through a crack in the door, kedei zu sehen wie Weiber gehen tefillah, to see how women go to immerse themselves. Wie von unter der Erde ist rausgewachsen Emetzer und nicht kein anderer wie der kleinere Mendele. As if from out of the earth appeared someone, and it was no one but little Mendele, der Vorke Chassid, mit der größeren Eis. Remember, he was a chassid of the Rebbe of Vork. He had a big nose. Was hat gesucht und genichtert und erschnappt sind. Who is always looking and seeking out and finding sin. Another small, habe ich herausgenommen dem Schäufer von Behaltenisch in Besemetrisch und genommen Blasen in Mittenjahr. Another time, I took the shofar out of its hiding place in the study house, and I started to blow it right in the middle of the year. Also, as Jeden seien sich angelaufen auf Beis Wunder, and the people started running up in great wonder. Beis Wunder, literally angry wonder, but Beis Wunder means marvel.
In amazement.
In amazement, that's it. Meinendig, as Mashiach kommt, thinking, the Messiah has come. Einmal habe ich genommen und mit dem Lernen springen über die Barrieres von Balamer. Once, in the middle of studying, I started jumping over the this is the word barrier, the fence,
Handrail, perhaps.
That's it, the handrail of the Balamer. That's the podium from which the rabbi would give a speech. Und wieder hat mich gepackt bei der Malache nicht kein anderer wie der kleine Mendele. And once again, who caught me at the work? No one but little Mendele. Wachst allein, Reb Yoishele, hat der kleine Mendele genommen mich rufen mit der Reb. You're becoming an adult, a light, a respectable person.
You're growing up.
Yeah, you're growing up, Mr. Yehoshua. Little Mendele called me with a Mr. Nicht was zu reden, der Tate fort und der Sohn springt. What can you say? The cat's away, the mice will play. Literally, father is traveling, the son is jumping. Das ist gewesen ein Stach, wegen mein Tatens herumfahren und lassen das Städtel an der Rav. That was actually an insult concerning my father's wandering about and leaving the town without a rabbi. In einem Freitag ist auf mir angefallen als ein Appetit, als ich hab sich zugehabt zu die Fisch und aufgegessen bis zum letzten Stickel. One Friday, I acquired such an appetite that I grabbed the fish. I grabbed myself literally to the fish, and I ate it up to the last bit. Nicht überlassende kein ein Stickel Fisch auf Shabbos. I didn't leave a single piece of fish for Shabbos. Wenn die Mama hat ersehen, die ledige Fahne Fisch, hat sie mich nicht geschlagen, nicht gesiedelt auf viele. When mother saw this empty pan of fish, she didn't beat me, and she didn't even curse me. Schäm sich nicht. Aren't you ashamed? Hat sie mich gefragt und geguckt auf mir mit ihrer großen Augen. And she looked at me with her big eyes. Ich hab mich ja geschämt. I was ashamed. Also geschämt, als ich wollte gewinn glücklich, die Mama soll mich schlagen. So ashamed that I would have been happy if mother did beat me. Ihr Guck was gewinn ärger wie jeder Straf. Her look was worse than any punishment. Etliche Wochen nachdem habe ich getan alles in Stub. For a few weeks after that, I did all of the housework. Getragen Wasser von Brunnen, gehackt Holz, gelaufen einkaufen. I carried water from the well. I chopped the wood. I ran to do purchases. Aber euch zu kaufen sich von der narrischer Sint, aufzuessen die Fisch. To buy my way out of this silly sin of eating up the fish. Einmal beim Hacken Holz hat ein Stück Holz mir getroffen in der Nuss. Once, as I was chopping wood, a splinter caught me in the nose und übergehackt dem Bein auf der Hälfte, and it split the bone in two. Ich bin etliche Schar gesessen in die größte Jesurim und nicht erzählt der Mama. For several hours I was sitting in the worst pain and I didn't tell my mother Was es hat getroffen mit mir, what had happened to me. Erst, wenn mein Ponem is gewesen in ganzen geschwollen, hat die Mama der Zen, mein Sarah. Only when my face was entirely swollen, then mother caught sight of my difficulty, my pain, und mich weggeführt zum Feldscher Pawlowski. And she brought me to the folk doctor Pawlowski. Versteht sich, als hat mich ausgeschmiert mit Jod. Of course, it stands, one doesn't need to explain that he smeared my nose with iodine und genommen 20 Groschen davon. And he took 20 pennies for that. In Gichen hat man wieder gedarft ankommen zum Feldscher Pawlowski. Soon we had to come back to the Feldscher Pawlowski. Mein Mutter hat gekrogen a schwere Macke auf der Brust. Mother had received a bad wound on her breast. Und sie hat gelitten schreckliche Jesurim, and she was suffering terrible pains. Wenn alle weiberische heimische Mitteln haben nicht geholfen, when all of the female home-cooked remedies didn't help, hat man gerufen Pawlowski. They called for Pawlowski. Kein Geld zu fahren zu a doctor ist nicht gewesen. There wasn't money to go to a real doctor. Der Feldscher hat gesagt, als man darf gleich operieren. The Feldscher, the folk doctor, said that one had to operate immediately. Hat rausgenommen a Messerl von Keschene, es viele nicht rumgewaschen und gemacht die Operation. He took out a knife from his pocket. He didn't even wash it. And he undertook the operation. Susan?
Wie soll meine schwache Mutter hat gekonnt, übertrugen die schwere Operation, how my weak mother could have stood for that such a hard operation, un a Schluff getrank, without having some sleep medicine, some, what would you call,
Anesthesia.
anesthesia, yeah. Durchgeführt durch a nicht gewaschenen Poyer and done by a unwashed peasant, was hat sein medizinische Kunst gelernt in a russische Kasarme, who learned his trade in a Russian army, in a Russian army camp. Heb ich nicht zu verstehen. I can't even begin to understand how she let that happen. Der Assistent bei der Operation bin ich gewesen. And who was the assistant with the operation? Was myself. Weil meine Schwester hat nicht gekannt zu sehen kein Blut, because my sister couldn't stand to see blood. Mehr wie allemen hat man gedacht dem Taten in their Heim. More than anything else, we needed our father to come home. Aber ist nicht gewesen, but he wasn't there. Hat gehalten in ein Suchen Rabbonissen. He kept looking for a rabbinic position. Noch lange Wochen ist gekommen. After many weeks, he came back. Wie Tommen, as always, full mit Glicken und Meises, with all kinds of what exactly would you translate Glicken?
Luck, happiness.
Well, happy stories and happiness and stories wegen dem, about that, was man hat ihm da zugesucht, all the things they promised him. Jenes zugesucht. Whatever he was promised. Die Mama hat schweigendig ausgehört alle Glicken. Mother quietly, without saying anything, heard all these stories. Ungewollt wissen, Tachlis, and she wanted to know Tachlis, what's going to come of this? A Kosev Rabbonis hast du gebracht? Have you got a contract, a rabbinical contract? Nein, hat der Tate gesagt. No, father said. Aber der Rebbe hat mir zugesucht, but the rabbi promised me, als wird mir mit der Zeit kriegen a Stell.
A shtetl.
A shtetl. Oh, but the rabbi promised me that with time he will get me a job.
Yeah, Rebbe here is a Hasidic Rebbe.
What?
It's not a rabbi, it's a Rebbe. It's
Oh.
it's a Hasidic leader.
Oh, the Chassid, okay. That he would eventually find me a position or a town. Derweil will mir sitzen in Radzimin beim Hof, and meanwhile we'll stay in Radzimin.
In the rabbi's court in Haif.
Oh, in the rabbi's Hof, rabbi's place. Die Mama hat gewollt wissen, was sonst der Tate meint mit sitzen beim Hof. And mother wanted to know, what exactly does father mean by staying in sitzen beim Hof? Der Tate hat erzählt, Barichus dem ganzen Plan, and father told her about the whole plan. Was der Rebbe hat gemacht für him, which the rabbi had made for him.
Yeah, Barichus means great length.
What?
Barichus in great length.
Oh. Der Rebbe hat umgesucht seine Chassidim. The rabbi told his Chassidim, sie sollen sehen, schaffen a Rabbonis Farentaten, that they should find a way to set up a rabbinical position for the father, for father. Aber so wie das kann dauern lang, but since this could take a long time, soll der Tater derweil lernen Yoredea mit die Bechurim. So meanwhile, the father should study God-fearedness.
No, Yoredeya is one of the sections of the Shulchan Aruch.
Oh, study Shulchan Aruch with the young boys in their Radzimina yeshiva, in the Radzimin yeshiva, that she become a yeshiva teacher. Was the Rebbe hat gegründet zu jener Zeit, which had been started, that yeshiva had been started by the Rebbe at that time. Trotzdem wird übergucken dem Rebbens Chassivim. Chasovim. And in addition to that, he should look over the Rebbe's writings, the Torahs und die Pshetlach.
Yeah. Pshetlach and Pshatlach. His simple explanations of the Torah.
And the Torah readings and the simple explanation, was the Rebbe sucht. So the rabbi says, und zugreifen sie zum Druck, and get them ready to be printed. Von ot die zwei Sachen wird sein Parnosa, and from these two things, he will have some Parnosa, he will be able to earn some money with their breiter hand, with well, literally the wide hand, but what does it mean in this case?
Generously.
Generously, oh. Und als es wird sich machen durch der Zeit a good Rabbonus. And as the time goes by, this will turn into a good rabbinical position.
No, and if after a while, there should turn up a good rabbinic post.
Oh, as time goes by, that should turn out to be a good rabbinical post, that überlassen die yeshiva, he can then leave the yeshiva und werden Rav in a shtetl and then become rabbi in a shtetl. So you see that the yeshiva teacher was a lower position.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But it's a paid position, at least, and he's close to his Rebbe in Radzimin, which I'm sure he enjoys, and he's well thought of. So for him, this is great. It's not clear it's good for the family, but it's good for him. This is a good place to stop. I did look up where Radzimin is. It's just a little bit to the north, a little bit northeast of Warsaw. So all of this is more or less in the Warsaw area. Lęczyn is also northwest of Warsaw. On the other hand, Bilgarai, where his mother is from, that's much farther away. That's in the Lublin district, far to the south and a little bit east of Warsaw.
My mother was born in Bilgarai, in Lublin, Gubernur.
Mhm.